Hello, everybody. Once again, this is Dan Skip Allen and Jake Maringoni for the 52 must-see movies and why they matter. And this is the third part of the Three Colors trilogy. We are now talking about the Three Colors Red, directed by Krsyzstof Kiewslowski. Jake, what do you think about this one? Before we get started talking about the movie.
This one is the one that is probably the most popular of the three. It is the one that got the most. This is the one that kind of broke out of France or Polish or Poland or just being above just being a European movie, because this is the one that got Oscar nominations, and it got a Best Director nod for Kiewslowski. It got cinematography. It got original screenplay. It was nominated for the Palme d'Or at Cannes. It was the one that got the most critical reception outside of France and Poland, and I think that's kind of a good thing, because there's a lot of films like this that deserves more recognition, and I wish it won an Oscar, but it was 1994. There was a lot of competition that year.
Yeah, 1994 was a rough year to be having a film out, because that year was brutal. It was slam packed with great films. But I do want to say that I didn't say this before, but all Three Colors trilogies came out within a calendar year of one another.
Yep.
Blue came out in 1993, and White and Red both came out in 1994. So all three of these films came out in the same year, within a calendar year. So that's a feat in and of its own right there. Three movies of this quality and this caliber come out within a calendar year of one another, and let alone one film. Some other directors, Spielberg or Scorsese, maybe they might pull something like this off, but this is an amazing feat to have three great films like this all come out within the calendar year. Red is considered the most popular and the most famous of, and it's a lot of people's favorite of the trilogy. I will talk about that aspect of it at the end, but I'm not going to get into which one is my favorite right now. Right now, we're going to get into the cast. We have Irene Jacob. She's the main actress in the film. She plays Valentine. And then we have Judge Louis. We have the judge, and he's played by Jean-Louis Trintignant.
Yeah.
We always have these strange names in these films, and I have a hard time pronouncing them. Then we have a very aloof character, which we see this character, but we don't know a lot about this character. And Jean-Pierre Lorit plays Auguste.
Yeah.
And so we're going to get talking more about Auguste later. Let's put it this way: we see Auguste, but we don't really hear a lot of what goes on with Auguste. But because right off the bat we see Auguste. It's not like we don't see the guy. So we're going to get into this. Unlike White and similar to Blue, Red is everywhere. In apartments, we got red Jeeps. We got red
lights.
We got red lights. We got red workout rooms. We got red everywhere. And we got red banners hanging up on the wall, on the sides of buildings. Red is everywhere in this film. Unlike White, where you have to kind of think and really look for the white, because it's so like into the film. You have to really look. In Blue, you could tell the blue with the chandelier and the blue room and the swimming pool and the light coming from outside the window. Some of those instances in the blue wrapper, but Red it like hits you over the head. It's everywhere in this film. The red is. So I want to make sure out there. Go ahead, Jay.
I think that's the reason why it got the cinematography Oscar as nomination for the use of color.
Yeah, and the cinematographer, his name is Pierre Sobocinski. Pierre Sobocinski is the cinematographer. Yeah. And oh God, wow, amazing. What a great job this guy does. And once again, we get the cinematographer from the Decalogue. And we get actors, and I meant to talk about that with White, because more of the actors from the Decalogue were in White than they were in these other films. But the cinematographers now, this is 2 cinematographers from 2 different episodes of the Decalogue. And we get some of the supporting characters in some of the movies from the Decalogue as well. So now that we got that out of the way, of course, we get Michelle. We don't know who Michelle is. We just know Michelle is a boyfriend of Irene, and he's off somewhere. I think he might be in the military or something. I don't exactly know where Michelle is, but he's kind of her on again, off again boyfriend. They have quite a few conversations about, what they're doing, who's doing this, and what are they doing, where they are, what, waking up at certain hours of the day. So there's a lot of that kind of phone call with Irene and Michelle. So we got, we need to get that out of the way really, really early in here.
We should mention the first shot of the film, if that's okay.
Yeah, I got it right here.
The first shot, it continues with Kiewslowski and his use of camera, and it's just, I don't know, if you think about each 3 opening shots of the trilogy, you have 3 colors, which opens with a car crash by following the wheel, and you see the car about to crash, and then of course it crashes into the tree. With White, you see the suitcase going down in the airport, and that's of course is callback to what happens later on in the film. And then with this, probably the most ambitious first shot of the trilogy, you have someone making a phone call, and the camera is following the wires, and it goes through the sea, and it comes back, and it's just connecting, and that's the opening shot, and it just gets you into that frenetic energy of the film. That is a bit of a reason why Kiewslowski is such a master with filmmaking. It's just his use of camera movements.
Yeah, absolutely. We get this street. I want to talk about this street because this street plays a big part in the film. We see this street a lot, and we got a red Jeep. Red Jeep is a key thing in the film. And then we get a red bar, red in the bar. We get Valentine is in she's a model, and then we get a bar, and like I said, red hits you over the head like with a sledgehammer. There's so much red in the film, and of course, with her in the dancing studio, and everywhere you look, it has red in it. There's a red coat at the fashion show, and then there's red lights. It's just everywhere. There's a red book. Now, the red book is another thing that is a main key in the film. But the main thing is Irene runs over a dog. She's driving down the street, and she runs over a dog. She realizes the dog is alive. She puts him in the car, and but the blood, of course, red again. Blood gets on her hands, and she brings the dog to a vet, but then brings it to her owner's house. She finds a leash on the dog that says the address of the owner of the dog, and it's a German Shepherd. This is a German Shepherd, and she walks into the guy's house because he's not answering, and the door was open. She's just I'll just walk right in this guy's house.
And the owner turns out to be a retired judge who's played by Jean-Louis Trintignant. Is that how you say his last name?
Yeah, I got it. Trintignant.
I didn't get to mention it briefly, but he is a famous actor. He's often considered to be the Marlon Brando of French cinema. He was in Amour, which also had Emmanuel Riva, who was in Three Colors Blue. So there's a little bit of a Haneke connection there with actors. I just wanted to point that out. He's one of those prolific French actors of all time.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what. After watching him in this movie, I understand why. Because I'll tell you, I loved him in this movie. Yeah, he plays the judge, and we learn that the dog's name is Rita, and she says, he says, so why don't you take the dog to take the dog to a vet. And she's like, she waves at the woman outside the window. And, you know, I mean, she's like, no, this is your dog. I brought the dog back to you.
He doesn't seem to care.
No, he doesn't care. I'm like, wow, this is weird. You know, all right, so then we're going to go to our other character, but we don't know his name yet. I just call him the man in the red Jeep. This is what I swear, I called him the man in the red Jeep because I did not know who this man was. We didn't find out his name till near the end of the film. Yeah. So August is the man in the red Jeep. He waves at a woman outside of his window, and he's got a dog as well. You know, what he does.
Yeah, you see early on in the film, he's taking his dog for a walk.
Yeah, he's kind of like in the background of some of these shots, with Irene and stuff like that. Okay, so there's the lights out with the photographer. She's a model, and so she has the photographer and the lights. They have the lights go out while she's with the photographer. And then we see the slot machine. There's a slot machine, and there's red cherries once again on the slot machine. And then she sees her brother. This is a subplot in the film. She sees her brother in the newspaper, and she, you know, this is a big. This is I guess her brother is a troublemaker or something like that. They really don't go a whole lot into the brother. It's just kind of like a subplot of the Irene character. Yeah. And then money is delivered by the neighbor.
At first we don't know who, because later on money is delivered to Valentine's apartment. Yeah. We don't know who delivered it, and we find out later on who it was, but we just like, what's this? Who's sent this money? And we have no idea reason why. That's right. And one of the leashes on the dog is red, another red. I'm pointing out all the different items that are red in the movie because it's such a major thing with the movie. And then when she's trying to take the dog for a walk, she says, all right, now don't run away. Of course, the damn dog's going to run away. Of course, yeah. You know, and he goes into a church. She goes into the church after the dog, and the dog runs back out. And of course, the dog runs back to, guess who? The judge. Come to find out, the judge is the one that paid her the money because he wanted to pay for the vet, for the veterinary bills that she paid. She took out of her own pocket. And then the judge is like, well, you took her to the vet, and you've been taking care of her, so you can take Rita. And we also find out in that, I believe it's that scene or in the veterinarian scene, that the dog is pregnant. That's right. The dog is pregnant. I'll tell you what, though, this dog's a smart dog. I noticed throughout this film, this is a very smart animal. German Shepherds are notoriously a smart dog anyway. And then we start looking around the judge's house, and he's got red all over his house as well. You know, a lot of it's wood, but a lot of it's red as well. And so we find out, because Valentine's in his house, and there's like a radio going on. And she's like, what's going on? And are you listening to your neighbors? He's eavesdropping on he's one of the neighbors. He's got a interesting phone conversation that he's happening. That's right. So the judge ends up listening to his neighbor's phone calls. He's got these different frequencies, except one of the guys is like a drug dealer or a gangster, and he has like a cell phone. Before cell phones were really a big thing, a track phone or whatever you're going to call it, he had one of those. So his phone calls can't be traced.
or listened to by the neighbor. And then he tells her that, you know, he won't do it anymore. She's like, don't listen to the neighbors. You need to turn yourself in for eavesdropping and this and that and the other. And so he's like, all right, I won't do it anymore. You know. God, I'm trying to go through my notes here. You know, he said he's done with that whole life. He's not going to listen to the neighbors anymore. Then the drug dealer, he's like the biggest drug dealer in Geneva. I guess this is where they're at, Geneva, which is an island. Is Geneva an island?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think it's an island. And she calls and tells him that he deserves to die, which is really kind of a crazy phone call. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
Then we go back to the red Jeep man, and they go bowling. And then what do you see? The bowling alley is in all red.
Yep.
Another red place in the film. I mean, then we get chairs that are red. The bowling alley is red. I mean, it's just crazy how this red just hits you over the head. Then, okay, Michelle calls again and hangs up on Valentine and then calls back. This is the kind of off again, on again relationship that Michelle and Valentine have with each other. Okay. And then I got the red Jeep man throws a book in the air and passes course. He passes a course. I guess he was taking a course.
I think we find out earlier because he drops his book, and we find out that he's wanted to be a judge. I think it's like he wants to get into law.
Yeah. And he wants to be a lawyer himself. So it's kind of interesting that the judge character is like a main character. Then this guy's going to red Jeep guy, August, is going to school to be a lawyer. So we have that kind of a connection there. Then we have the CD store where she goes to the CD store to listen to music, and the CD is sold out. But then we get the civil case where we find out that Joseph Kern, now we know who our judge's name is, Joseph Kern, ends up being sued by all of his neighbors.
Because of his spying activities.
Yeah, because he wrote letters. He wrote letters and sent them to all his neighbors saying that he was the one that was spying on them the whole time. And that they sued him for, I don't know, privacy or I don't know what you would call it, what the lawsuit was. But negligent, behavior. I don't know what you would call it. But and then of course, the red Jeep guy is in court as well. His girlfriend leaves for England. She leaves for England. His girlfriend leaves for England, and then what's her name? No, what am I talking about?
Karen?
Yeah, Karen. And then Valentine also leaves, and she leaves her brother and her mother behind. Now, the brother we've been seeing in the newspaper, but we really haven't seen a whole lot going on with her mother. But she leaves Geneva, and everybody is, all our main characters are leaving the area, except our judge. Judge still stays home, and he gets broken windows rocks being thrown through the window, and he tells Valentine that he had a dream about her, a pleasant,
Yeah.
a pleasant dream about Valentine. Then we go back to the red Jeep guy, August, and someone had broken into his apartment, and and then he realizes that his girlfriend was having sex with
With another man.
with another man back home.
Yeah.
All right, and then another phone call with Michelle. Then we go back to Valentine, and she's having another conversation with Michelle. This is another kind of this back and forth between these two. And then he asks if she loves him, and she says, "I think so." Now, if you're let me ask you, Jake, if if a woman asks you if you love her and you say you think so, what do you think she's thinking about that, or vice versa? If you
I
ask,
don't know. It came off kind of like it was almost desperate in the sense of, do you really love me? Or maybe she had just known. I don't know if I would ever say I think so, but maybe it's like the spark of a relationship that might happen. And
then we go back to the red Jeep man, August, and he falls on his bed because he's distraught. He's like, he can't believe what happened. You know, he thought he was happy. He thought him and Karen were happy together. He graduated law school. You know, he was going to be a lawyer, and she's having sex with another man. And the dog's on the bed. He kicks the dog off the bed.
yeah,
And, that's a tough thing for a man to see have his girlfriend do. And when he tries to talk to her, he tells her, he doesn't want to. She tries to run after him. She tries to come after him for some reason because he doesn't want to have anything to do with her after what happened. He ties his dog to a pole and drives away, and which is really strange to me. I thought that was kind of
he just leaves the dog there.
Yeah, that was. This is weird. This parallels with these dogs in this film, and the judge ends up leaving his house, and he hides because Valentine is doing a fashion show, and would you know it, the theater that the fashion show is covered in red.
Yeah, I was gonna say all the chairs, they're all red. The room itself is red.
Yeah, once again, everything the theater is in red. On the catwalk and everything. The judge came to watch Valentine's fashion show, and then there's a storm, and he tells a story about Hugo hobbling. The judge does, and he wants her to understand his, why he's such a jaded person and why he's not necessarily the nicest guy. He had a love, and he was betrayed as well when he was younger. And he talks about this Hugo hobbling guy who stole his wife, and then he just decided to fall right into his judge duties, and he felt he judged this guy as guilty, and he put this guy away, even if the guy, he thought maybe the guy could have been innocent. Now that's pretty harsh, don't you think, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, he did it just out of revenge in a sense, because that was the love of his ex-girlfriend, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so he was it's the same way. It's the same feeling that August is feeling after seeing his girlfriend. So it's almost as if it's kind of having that poetry kind of repeating itself, or they're very similar characters in the sense that both are into law, and they both had a girlfriend who cheated on them, and so it's almost as if he got revenge, and now he's just a jaded old man who's distant and doesn't care for anyone. So that really kind of affected him, and we almost get a sense of that's kind of almost what happened to August.
Yeah, absolutely. But we find out that the dog ended up having puppies, and the puppies are at the judge's house. So I think this is going to be the thing that's going to turn the judge around. I feel like this could be the thing that turns the judge around, is having the dog and the dog's puppies there. Something that he could take his mind off of some of the negativity of spying on the neighbors and stuff like that. I think the puppies are kind of like a good thing that's happening to the judge. But then we get our two main characters. They're on a boat. They get a ticket, and they end up going aboard a boat that's going across the English Channel. But the storm is so just a really bad storm. It knocks down Valentine's banner, which we see throughout the film, people driving past it or walking past it, which is red, and it's got Valentine on it, and it comes down while these men are trying to work on some stuff. The banner ends up falling down, and then this is a very tragic event that happens in this film. With the ending of Blue, we had a car crash. Well, in the ending of this film, we had a boat capsized in the English Channel. Now, the problem with this boat is all our main characters are on the boat, and we don't know what happened to them, except we see the judge watching TV, and he turns the TV up, and only 7 people of a bunch of people that are on the boat survived the boat.
And so he's worried that Valentine may have not made it. But later on, we discover that it isn't just the main characters of this film that are on the boat. It was actually the main characters of the other two. Everyone,
all the 7 people that lived on the boat crash were Julie Delpy's Dominique, Carol, Julie from Blue, played by
Olivier,
Juliette Binoche.
Yeah, and Olivier.
And then obviously Auguste and Valentine from Red are on the boat. And they said there's 7 people ended up surviving the boat crash, which is very, very crazy to have this be the through line of this trilogy. We had the crossover between Blue and White with the courtroom, but to have all of these characters on a boat that
connects them all together.
I mean, and they're the only characters that survive.
Yep.
I mean, what?
You could say that's bad writing, or you could say it's fate or it's destiny. And some of the themes in the trilogy kind of connect and kind of allude to that sort of sense, like the courtroom scene from White, which is the scene in Blue as well. So that I think also works to make this trilogy feel connected, is the characters and the fact that we see them together in this final scene of the movie. Is that it just kind of makes you realize that this trilogy should be seen together.
Oh, absolutely. And it is a trilogy. That it tells you right there that because of the interconnectivity of the courtroom in White and Blue, and then this scene, it interconnects, and it tells you that not only can Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu do connected movies, or Paul Haggis do connective movies, but Mr. Kiewslowski he was the man who did connectivity first and made it.
With not just one film, but with 3 films.
With 3 films.
You think of Babel, that's 1 film. Same with Crash, that's 1 film. This is 3 films.
Yeah, and so now, now that we've had a chance to talk about all 3 films, I'll tell you what. You hear what people say about which one's their favorite, and I'll tell you, when I first saw Blue, I was like, oh man, I love Blue. I thought Blue was amazing, and the cinematography of Blue really jumped out at me. And like you said, the comedy of White, the story, the revenge story, and the good guy ends up winning in the end. But I think the the multiple layers and the symbolism with the dogs and just the color red and these characters and some of the things that they end up going through in Red really resonated with me a lot more. And that's why I would say of the three, I liked Red a lot better than White and Blue. But I love them. Absolutely. I was so glad, Jake, that I had a chance to see these films together, like you said, one after the other. It really meant that much more to me watching them together than having to watch them separate. And so give me some thoughts on what your overall thoughts are on the trilogy, and some maybe comment on what I said.
Yeah, it's a good trilogy to watch back to back. The first time I saw it, I gave it a day between each one to just kind of think about it. Like I watched Blue on a Saturday, and then I watched White on a Sunday, and then Red on a Monday, just to kind of flesh my thoughts out. But I noticed that it feels like it's one movie to watch them all back to back, because you get a sense of characters, and of course the ending of Red, it connects everything together. I think when I first saw it, my feelings were Blue is my favorite, and I don't know if I still feel that way, because I really just relate so much to Julie's character and her motivations and what happens throughout the film. And I just think of the three, that one has the best cinematography, although Red is a very, very, very close second. I really liked White for its anti-comedy, drama, weird story that was going. I was just completely did not expect that at all. And I really like Red's interconnectivity just in that film alone, and its characters and the jaded judge. But I don't know. I think I'm just a little lenient over Blue as my favorite.
No,
I love all of them. I love all of them, all roughly around the same. They're all great films.
Now, this is the question we always ask ourselves, Jake, when we do the 52 must-see movies and why they matter, because what the book was made for, and why Robert Osborne did what he did, and what they were going for was, and why I did season 1, and now we're on to season 2. Of course, we're off the book. What is so essential, and what makes the Three Colors trilogy must watch for everybody that may never heard of Krzysztof Kiewslowski, and maybe didn't hear of Julie Delpy or Juliette Binoche or some of these actors?
Yeah.
What is so essential?
I think it's essential because there's a lot of good history about this trilogy, because it is Kieślowski's last 3 films that he got to make. Because after Red, he said, "I'm done with films. I'm going to retire," which is crazy, because he was in his 50s when he made these films, and he's like, "I'm done." And he had written a bunch of other screenplays that got turned to films after his retirement. And unfortunately, in '96, he died. And that was just really tragic for me, because that was just when I found this trilogy, I was like, I want to find out more about this director. And unfortunately, he had died way too young, and I wanted to see more films by him. This is a great start to get into not just Polish cinema, but Kieślowski himself. It's the best way to jump into his filmography is this trilogy. I definitely would say start with Blue, then White, and then Red, because you feel the sense of what the director wanted you to feel, because he chose those films in that order for the audience to experience. So yeah, if you want to find out more about Kieślowski and his filmmaking, I would say definitely check out the trilogy and Polish cinema as a whole. It's great to see each of them. And an interesting tidbit is that first film takes place in France, second one mainly takes place in Poland, and then the third one mainly takes place in England. Each of them still feel they all are part of Polish cinema, and I think it's one of the best trilogies ever made, and I just want to see more trilogies like this. And definitely, if you want to get into Kieślowski, check it out, and then find Double Life of Veronique or Blind Chance or Camera Buff, and the Decalogue, of course, because there's a lot of similar themes and ideas that he did with the Decalogue that he did with Three Colors trilogy.
Absolutely, and I put them on my Criterion list to buy. So when I do my Criterion buying in July, I'm hoping I can afford to get the Decalogue and the Double Life of Veronique, absolutely, because and the thing is, if you get the criterions of these, there's a lot of special features, a lot of interviews, a lot of commentaries, so you can get the mind of the actors and the director behind the films, talking about the reasons. There's some really good documentaries talking about what went into making the films and whatnot. But like Jake said, there's a lot of things to really love about these films, and when he nominated these, I was like blown away. I was like, thank God, I'm glad he nominated. I looked at his list of films and I was like, wow, Jake's nominated some great films.
I'm glad that you allowed me that we got to talk about all three, because originally it was we can only limit it to one film, so there's a couple of changes that we made. But I'm glad that you allowed me to allow all three of them to get in.
Well, my co-hosts from season 1, Steven and Andrew, I asked their advice, and they both said, no, you can't separate the Three Colors trilogy and just talk about Red. You got to talk about all of them. So I said, you know what? I'm going to knock out a couple other films that people nominated. I want to talk about all three of these because, like you said, it's like just one long film in a lot of ways. And so this is the first time I ever seen these films. I had been wanting to watch them before, and I'm glad you nominated them, and I'm glad we had a chance to talk about them. Hopefully other film fans and other people that are out there that hopefully are watching the 52 must-see movies and learning about these films that we're talking about, if they haven't heard about them, are going to have a chance to go out and check these films out. We brought something to their attention. That's part of the reason why I do this show, based on Robert Osborne's book, the 52 must-see movies and why they matter, the essentials. And so this has been the Three Colors trilogy, and I just want to say thanks to Jake for hanging in here, do 3 episodes with me. We had to do it this way, right, Jake?
Yeah, we had to. There's no other way we could do it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we did it. This is good.
Absolutely. So, Jake, where can you be found?
The last time today, you can find me at Pretentious Hack on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm also on Full Metal Trivia sometimes. I'm on Worldwide Movie Games, Movie Battleground. There will be Trivia Team Tournament. I'm going up against the Omega Club soon. I am on the Jack of All Trivia League, movies, singles, inner geekdom, teams, and music, making my debut there. And also, just you can find me on the Must See 52 movies. Thank you so much, Dan. I'll be not soon, in in a month or so, I'll be with Jeremy. We'll be talking about the Paul Thomas Anderson film Magnolia. And also, there's a bunch of other films I'd love to talk about. No Country for Old Men, Eraserhead, but we'll talk about those in the not too distant future. So thank you, Dan, and I'll see you next time.
I appreciate it, Jake. You can find me at Dan Skip Allen on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. Also at From the Fourth Row. If you want to read my written reviews, you can go to cinesportstalk.com. That's CINSPORTSTALK, cinesportstalk.com. So for Jake and myself, good night.